Welcome to the Lending Forward podcast, brought to you by Atlantic Bay Mortgage Group. This is your home for real discussions about the mortgage and housing industry. Our hosts are here bringing you firsthand accounts every week from people at the heart of the business. And we're chatting with professionals from all corners of the industry as they help cultivate transparency around the future of the industry we love. Together, we are lending forward all we know to you. Thanks for joining us for today's episode. Let's dive in. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Lending Forward podcast. I am your host this week, Eliza Delgado, and I am here with a friend of mine, Blake Herring, and he's joining us talking about the great ways that he's been able to grow his business this year. So, Blake, welcome to the podcast. I would love to hear from you a little bit about what has set you apart, where you come from. Start with, who is Blake Herring?
Well, I appreciate you having me on. I feel like I'm unworthy, but we'll take it. So my name's Blake. I work with Atlantic Bay, and I've been in the mortgage industry about 8 years. This August, actually, next month will be 8 years. I'm out of Goldsboro, North Carolina, and I have two little girls at the house, and they keep me young per se. But yeah, so I worked at BB&T for 5 years of my mortgage time. So I've been at Atlantic Bay for about 3 years. And I really like the industry.
Awesome. Were you always interested in being a mortgage banker? Or was it just something that you kind of fell into? You're like, that's something that sounds pretty lucrative.
Yeah, no, actually, I just kind of fell into it. Actually, this is probably bad to say. I didn't even know what a mortgage was when I got into mortgage, really. I mean, I was working at the bank as a customer service rep, just opening checking accounts and refunding NSF fees, just dealing with the public. And I mean, I'll be honest, it was kind of draining. Laura had the office beside me. She did mortgages and she needed help. And she was like, would you come shadow me one day, see if you like it? And I went and shadowed her and had no idea what I was looking at. And she goes, well, do you want to do it? I said, absolutely, let's do it. It was better than what I was doing. And I had really no idea about the money. And I mean, I had some people tell me what you could make in it, but it wasn't really like a driving factor. I'm more so just getting me out of the job I'm in, and here we are. So it's probably the biggest break I've ever caught. So I'll take it.
Yeah. So keep riding the wave, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So one of the things that we started talking about initially was just, kind of how the year has progressed, and especially its cycle of the industry that we're in right now, mortgage rates being what they are. And in spite of that, you've really been able to kind of grow your business. We're looking at some numbers last week, and from last year, same period of time, to this year, same period of time, you've grown your business almost 50%, which is incredible. And when you talk about numbers like that for the average loan officer, that's a really hard thing to kind of do. So a couple of things I wanted to ask you about. First being, how is it that you build your business? So what kind of tactics do you undertake? How do you nurture your agents? And how has that, second part of the question is, how has that helped you kind of achieve that kind of significant growth year over year? So answer the first part first, and then we'll get to the second.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. I was actually surprised when I heard the statistic that I had actually grown, because I'm not a big numbers guy per se. I guess you compete against yourself every year, but I didn't know it was like at that, standpoint or whatnot. But, I think people remember how you make them feel. And I try to make all my referral partners feel good, and try to make all my referral partners feel like they're my number one referral partner. I actually joke with a lot of them, like, you're my number one military guy. Like, do you say that to everybody? I'm like, yeah. But, I joke around with them. But, I don't have any special sauce. I don't do anything, out of the ordinary. I think sometimes people don't look at like just doing the small things can just pay dividends. And I try to make myself readily available every day. I try to clean out my inbox. I'm not one of those people that has, a bunch of emails in your inbox or a bunch of text messages and phone calls. That gives me anxiety. And I try to make sure everybody's called back before I go to lunch. Everybody's called back before I go home for the day, and just making myself available for that phone call, whether it's the client or the realtor. Just doing the small basic stuff. And I just want to be ready day in and day out to take on. And, I'm just very blessed. I have a lot of good referral partners. I need to do better about probably nurturing the relationships in other areas. Gifts is not one of my, big things. Even for me and my wife, like gift giving, we did the love language test. It's not one of those things. So I do need to do better with them on stuff like that. But, I just try to over communicate, is key. I feel like, that's what my realtors tell me, like over communicate. And that's what I do. I think communication is the biggest piece to the business. Because I picked up several agents just because the people they used to work with wouldn't even call them back. And I'm like, like, how are you not calling your agents back? Especially in a time where it's, so-called slow the last couple of years. And, I think I've gained a reputation with a lot of realtors. Like, if anybody can fix it, Blake can, which thankful with the team I have and the mentors I have here too at Atlantic Bay. But, if there's a problem file, like, they want me to look at it. So just kind of building from I hate to say bad files, but files that no one else can do, but we can figure out. It goes a long way once you can figure them out.
Yeah. I think being good at the puzzle is like 90% of the battle. And that's what people want to hear, is that scenario and that you've thought through it for them, which is what makes you the trusted advisor. And I think that's what everybody aims to be, or should aim to be at least. So talk to me about I know we talked about this a little bit too, about, every company has marketing tools and all kinds of solutions and bells and whistles and all that kind of stuff. And at the end of the day for you, it really is just kind of about the relationship. So, I know some of your agents, they've reached out, trying to figure out like, oh, can we do marketing stuff here and there and everywhere? And it's always nice to kind of hear your name, kind of thrown out. And for you, it's just really like you said, just kind of showing up and answering the call when they need you. Right. So talk to me a little bit about, how you've been able to grow specifically this year. Is it that you've cast the net a little bit wider? Is that you're helping your agents, win more deals? Or what does that look like kind of in your case?
I think it's just compounding, kind of like compound interest works. It's starting to compound a little bit at this point in my career. I try to be very diverse as far as my loans. Like, if you look at my loan product mix, there's no dominant, probably type situation where I know a lot of people in 2020 and 2021 wanted that conventional 20% down. And, that's just not my market at all. So, I'm in a military market. So I do a lot of government, I do a lot of VA, a lot of FHA, a lot of USDA. NC housing, down payment assistance. Speaking of the assistance, a couple of years ago, I got tired of losing deals to the credit union because of 100% financing. My market, they just, it's I hate to say like a poor market, but there's just not a lot of cash. And so everybody would go to the credit union. I just got tired of it. And I figured out how to do an NC housing loan. And that changed my business actually, because now I was able to offer something to compete with the credit union. So that helped out a lot. I probably did 35 to 40 last year or something like that.
So North Carolina housing, for those people that aren't familiar, that's the state down payment assistance program up to $15,000 in closing costs.
Correct. Yeah. Thank you, Eliza. Yeah.
Not everybody here is from North Carolina, so we want to make sure.
Okay. Yeah. So just being in that bond broker market has helped a lot. If we can do a loan on it, I'm going to do it.
Yeah. I think that's the thing that we like to hear, though. You're not turning anything away, and somebody's going to be.
I don't turn. And I think that, I treat the person with a $40,000 loan like I'm going to treat the person with a $400,000. I think it really comes down to how you treat people and how you make them feel. And I think that's the key in this business, just building relationships.
Yeah. So when you think about the next, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, what do you envision? Do you have any goals, as this kind of growth has been compounding? What do you envision? The markets are going to go through another cycle change. So we're probably going to see rates shift, either upwards or downwards, hopefully downwards. But what do you kind of see happening for your business? Do you have any goals? What does that look like for you?
Right. I think year over year, I just try to beat myself. I'm very competitive. I played baseball in college. And so my biggest competitor is myself, not the person I'm trying to compete business with. But, at some point that's going to, it's going to plateau, I feel like at some point. But I have hired an assistant or production partner in the last couple of months. So that's going to be a big help. I'm kind of
Which is a big move for you.
Right. It's huge. I think you of all people know how much I debated on that. And I'm not going to.
So tell me about that decision, because I think that's a very unique and personal conversation that people have of when's the right time where I pull that plug or make that investment in hiring that kind of next teammate. What was kind of the decision point for you? Obviously, you've been able to handle a significant amount of volume without having that second person, but now that you are kind of increasing, what was kind of the decision point for you?
I think someone just kind of forced it on me. I'm just kidding. No, I've been thinking about.
Sometimes it's helpful to have the decision taken away.
Right. Yeah. I think I've been thinking about it a long time. I mean, probably a year and a half. And I just didn't want to really give up that control. But, I think I'll be honest with you, I think I got a little sloppy the last couple of months. I mean, I was closing 17 to 20 loans a month without an assistant. And probably things just weren't going as smooth as I wanted them to be. And I was kind of getting behind. And, I have a 3.5-year-old and next week, my smallest or baby will be a year, and just not being able to be the father and husband that I need to be to my family was probably the biggest part of the equation. And I won't be present with them, and I can't get back this time. I could always make more money. And so I realized I needed some help, and kind of had the perfect fit kind of fall in my lap. I hate to say it, but it was a no-brainer when I heard that she was available. And it's been night and day. I can't even believe I used to do what I do without her, to be honest. But
and there's no going back either.
No, there's no going back. She's a huge help, and I didn't really realize what I was missing until I had it. So I'm thankful for Elizabeth and what she does.
That's awesome. Well, I'm so glad to hear that. And I'm so proud of you for all the hard work you've put in to grow to this point. I think my big point that I wanted to get across, having you on the podcast is talking about, the industry wide and, nationally wide, you hear the media and the general phrases, like this is the hardest market ever. 50% of loan officers are leaving the industry, which is true. But at the same time, growth is still possible and opportunity is still all around us. You just got to dig deep and nurture those relationships like you're doing. So you've been doing a fantastic job. It's a great job.
Yeah, thank you. I think I got lucky coming in and growing through a market like this. And, I was a junior at LO for 5 years and through the good days of 2020 and 21. So I wasn't used to having my own business. So, I mean, being able to grow through this has been unique.
Yeah. And I think that also sets you up for even deeper success, because if you can grow in a hard market, you'll really thrive in a turnaround market. So
I'll definitely get there.
We'll get there. It might be, 18 to 24 months, but we'll get there.
I've been saying 18, 24 for 24 months, but
time is very elastic, Blake. Okay.
That's right.
Well, I did want to say thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today. I'm glad to have you here sharing your voice and your expertise and your insight. Is there any final thoughts that you want to get across to, this massive audience that we've got with Lending Forward?
Don't underestimate doing the little things. That's just what I always say.
Yeah, that's great. We'll put that on.
Little things that up.
Little things that up. I think that's great insight, and we can all take something from that. So thanks again, Blake. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate you.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. We'll look forward to having you on next year when we look at your another 49% growth.
Hey, I'll take it.
All right. Thanks, Blake. We appreciate you.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks again for tuning into today's episode of the Lending Forward podcast. Be sure to subscribe to our channel, follow us on Instagram at Lending Forward, on YouTube and LinkedIn. Tune in next week for another new episode and go lend something forward today. Atlantic Bay Mortgage Group, LLC, NMLS number 72043, NMLSconsumeraccess.org is an equal opportunity lender and employer. Located at 600 Lynn Haven Parkway, Suite 100, Virginia Beach, Virginia 23452.